very much inspired and motivated by Coach Way, so I'm just proud to be a part of it. So thank you for letting me do that. This is a proclamation honoring Coach Bobby Way. Whereas Coach Bobby Way was born in Hawkins County on September 27, 1943, graduated from Linview High School in 1961 after playing 4 years of basketball and baseball. And whereas he was the oldest of 3 Way brothers who all earned numerous awards in both basketball and baseball. And whereas after graduation he joined the United States Navy in September of 1961 to proudly serve his country and protect freedom for all, spending most of his service time in Okinawa, Japan aboard the USS Jupiter. And whereas his Navy career ended July 1st, 1964, at which time he began a job at Meade Corporation, then married Ann Duncan, December 19th, 1965. And whereas it was at this time he decided he wanted to pursue his dream of becoming a teacher and coach and returned to college, earning a bachelor's shared many stories about students and players, but a standout one is when a student approached him to ask if he and his sister could shower at the school. Their family was basically homeless. Bobby arranged for the siblings to shower at school, but noticed as the young man left he did not have a coat, and it was winter and very cold outside. The next day, Coach took the young man one of his jackets to wear, and whereas his family knew he was a special person, especially as a father, but it wasn't until his death that they fully understood the impact he made on students, players, and his peers as well. And whereas the following are comments numerous players and coaches as well posted after his passing. Coach Way has such an influence on us. We are thankful to have known him. He was such a wonderful coach, teacher, and friend, Kip and Rory Fletcher. Bobby was a great coach. He was always kind to our boys, Kerry and Krantz. I am one of many that can honestly say that I have never had a more influential man or coach that changed the direction of my life. He was a wonderful soul, and I am very proud to have shared time with him, David Williams. He was a great friend, a great coach, and a great man. He was an inspiration to me and taught me a lot about coaching basketball, Mitchell Pendleton. He was always a great friend and a mentor to students at Sullivan North High School, Greg Easterling. Coach Way is the reason I became a coach, and after all these years, still the best I have ever been around, Steve Dixon. He was always a kind person to me, Christy Kimberly Lawson. He was a wonderful part of our faculty and coaching staff at Sullivan North High School, Gary Crawford. I haven't seen Coach Way since high school in the 80s, but I thought so much of him. He is one I still think of from time to time, Wayne Allis. Whereas Tim Wills has shared many memories at this time spent with Coach Way, one of the memories that stands out to him was during basketball season. He was talking with Coach about the upcoming baseball season and said, "Coach, we are going to win the state this year." Coach fell out of his chair laughing at Tim's statement. However, the Golden Smurfs, as they were known, did in fact win the state baseball championship that year. During the championship game, Coach Way believed in Tim's ability so much that Tim says, "The only reason I got to pitch the championship game was because Coach Way told Coach Ritz to let me pitch." We have lost a great one. This is a sad, sad day. Bobby was an icon, the epitome of what a man of our time was supposed to be. He was a great teacher, outstanding coach, admirable husband and father. I will never forget all the good memories that we had together and will always treasure his memory. God bless Ann, Scott, and April. Keep them close. John McCrary. Whereas, these are only a few of the memories that have been shared with Coach Way's family since his passing, and whereas, after spending 37 years as a teacher and coach for Sullivan County Schools, there surely are many other colleagues, students, and student athletes who could share countless stories of their time spent with Coach Way. Now, therefore, the Sullivan County Commission honors Coach Bobby Way and proclaims today, February 16th, 2023, Coach Bobby Way Day in Sullivan County. offering our thanks for his service to country and community with a special presentation to his family. Signed, Richard S. Venable, Sullivan County Mayor. And I just want to say one thing, that Coach Wade had a great influence on a lot of students and athletes, and there's one standing here today, a big one, that probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for people like Coach Wade and their influence they had on his students. Coach McCrary always says it was a crime that Coach Wade didn't have his own team to show what a good coach he was. Well, he didn't want his own team. He didn't care about the limelight or the prestige. He just cared about kids. So that's what Coach Wade was all about. So I'll be glad to present this to the family, but I think Mr. Ward, Commissioner Ward, would like to say a few things.
I was one of the fortunate ones that got to play for Coach. It's good to see a lot of students and players that played for Coach Wade. He taught us a little bit about basketball, but most importantly, he taught us a lot about being men, being good people, be respectful. I sat in that seat because of Coach Wade. I could go on with stories, but Scott and April, thank you for sharing your dad. Truly a blessing to know him. And Ann, thank you for all you've done for a lot of kids. You don't just have two, you've got thousands everywhere. I've been to your house many a times and walked in, and you'd say, I'll let you guys talk, and I'm very thankful to be one of those players and students that had the honor to play for Coach Wade.
As we finish here, I'm just going to add to this. I had the honor of my first years of my teaching career spending with Coach Bobby Wade at Windview and also at North. And I'll just echo what Travis said. I don't think many people really realize what it means when he says, thank you, April, Scott, and Mrs. Wade for sharing your husband with us, because truly it is a sharing. They spend on many days, many more hours with people like us, riding a bus, coaching a ball game, and taking care of other kids. So it was an honor for me to be able to know Coach Wade and for him to be a part of my life. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you all. Wonderful to have Coach Wade's family here. First of all, on my part, my wife is a Lindbergh graduate, and she graduated with Roy and knew Bobby very well. Very sad time. The next proclamation we have, honoring some young folks, and with Krista Whitaker Porter. Would you bring your kids up? They're not kids, they're young people. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank you for coming, and if y'all let the line up here, maybe we'll get a picture of this, if I can lean on one of my colleagues. Let's see. My pleasure to proclaim National February Farmers of America Week, February 17 to 25, 2023. Whereas future farmers of America and agricultural education provide a strong foundation for the youth of America and the future of food, fiber, and natural resource systems. And FFA promotes premier leadership, personal growth, and career success among its members. Whereas agricultural education and FFA ensure a steady supply of young professionals to meet the growing need in the science, business, and technology of agriculture. Whereas the FFA motto, learning to do, doing to learn, earning to live, living to serve, gives direction and purpose to these students who take an active role in succeeding in agricultural education. And whereas FFA promotes citizenship, volunteerism, patriotism, and cooperation. Now therefore, the Sullivan County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the week of February 17th through 25th, 2023 as National FFA Week in Sullivan County, Tennessee, and encourages all citizens to join in this worthy observance. Congratulations, Michael. Thank you. I'll just pass the microphone around, and I believe Krista has.
She has a few words. I was going to introduce everybody, and you know, I tell my kids and I tell everybody, if you eat, you're involved in agriculture. And I'm telling you, these are some incredible kids. We have been to Indianapolis together. I've spent a lot of time with them. They're great leaders, going to be great leaders. They're going to do some great things for us in our community as they grow. So tonight I have with me my president of FFA is Krista Whitaker. Turn around. Excellent. And I have Hattie Hilbert, Desiree McClellan, Elizabeth O'Neill, Marshall Jones, J.R. Laverne, and Mindy Miller, Lakin Brown, and Gracie Cox with us tonight. So I thank you, and Chris is going to say a few words.
Good evening. My name is Krista Whitaker Fortner. I'm the president of the Sullivan East FFA chapter. I would like to start by thanking all of you for your continuous efforts in bettering our community. I would also like to thank the commissioners in the Sullivan East District, Mr. Glover and Mr. Venable, for the opportunity to stand before you today. As an FFA member and advocate for agriculture, I think it is important to inform how FFA Week came about and why we believe it is important. Today, FFA provides the next generation of leaders who will change the world. As the top youth leadership development organization in the world, FFA helps young people meet new agricultural challenges by helping members develop their unique talents and explore their interest in a broad range of career pathways. FFA members are our future leaders, our future food producers, and our future agriculturists, and so much more. Whether it is through service projects or community gatherings, National FFA Week is a time for FFA members to raise awareness about the role of the National FFA organization plays in developing agriculture's future leaders and the importance of agricultural education. National FFA Week runs Saturday to Saturday and encompasses February 22nd, George Washington's birthday. The National FFA Board of Directors designated the week-long tradition, which began in 1948, in recognition of Washington's legacy as an agriculturist and farmer. A group of young farmers founded FFA in 1928. The organization has influenced generations that agriculture is more than planting and harvesting and involves business and science and so much more. National FFA Week is a time for FFA members to share agriculture with their fellow students as well as their communities. Chapters give back to their communities through service projects during FFA Week. This year, our chapter will be collecting coins during lunch, which we will use that money to support a local farmer or a local agricultural project. We'll be having a lunch for all Sullivan East faculty on Thursday, February 23rd. This will raise awareness to the farmers who produce our food. As a third-year FFA member, I have learned so many valuable lessons and met so many amazing people through this organization. And I want to make parents and the community aware of the opportunities that are available to students. These members behind me, the members before me, or the leaders before me, and the FFA members across the nation have worked so hard to establish so much, and I think that is something worth recognizing.
Kind of lined up here, and we'll get a picture if you like. Okay. Yeah, there you go. You're director.
Somewhat. Like herding cats.
I'll tell them about
Oh, I get it.
Everybody turns out.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Everybody get what they need? Okay. Thank you, folks. Thank you for coming. And congratulations. You did a great job. Next on our agenda is the election of nominee Rick Hicks for appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals. I believe in your packet you have Mr. Hicks's bio, so the floor is open for a motion to appoint Mr. Hicks. Commissioner Gardner moves to appoint Commissioner Crawford, Calvin, and Locke. Second. We have that on the board. With the board open. Yeah, any discussion? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Board open, cast your vote. To appoint Mr. Hicks over to BZA. Everyone voted? Anyone wish to change the vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Having received the necessary majority, Mr. Hicks is appointed to the BZA for the term prescribed by law, and I will ask Amber Torbett to notify Mr. Hicks of his appointment. Next up is the approval of commission minutes from the previous meeting that have been spread on your desk. Commissioner Crawford moves approval of minutes as published. Have a second. Commissioner Locke and Commissioner Stidham second. Any discussions, additions, corrections? Seeing none, when the board opens, please cast your vote on the approval of the minutes of the previous commission meeting. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Having received the necessary majority of the minutes are approved. Next up, the approval of notary public applicants. Madam Clerk, when you're prepared, go ahead and read the list of applicants.
Taryn L. Abelseth, Rebecca K. Barker, Shaylin Nicole Bentley, Daniel Robert Biger, Wesley Boer, Wendy D. Boomershine, Jason Matthew Bruner, Judy Campbell, Thomas M. Cole Jr., Angie Calvin, Robin Davidson, Ashley Lee Davis, Caitlin Deal, Donna Bonnet Dillo, Larry Raymond Dillo, Stephanie D. Epperson, Carmen Louise Frazier, Karen Hart, Caitlin Allison Herring, Angela Hooper, Rochelle Lee Hunter Johnson, Misty M. Hilton, Pamela S. Ketron, James Carroll Kite IV, Brenda Diane Lawson, Tammy Letterman, Mary M. Light, Jace Allen Lyon, B. Santana Matney, Stephen Scott McDavid, Cynthia Michelle Mutter, Caitlin Tennille Owen, Terry R. Palmer, Margaret Elizabeth Harton, Pamela J. Phillips, Emily A. Richmond, Thomas K. Siegelhorst, Deborah S. Short, Donna L. Smith, Christina Stapleton, Martha Stegall, Vonda D. Sturgill, Amy M. Sublett, Dusty Michelle Sutherland, Alice C. Thacker, Emily Carol Vaughn, Casey M. Watkins, Stephanie Page Williams, Teresa Wilson, and Heather Nicole Weininger.
You've heard the list. Are there any objections to any applicants for to be appointed notary publics for Sullivan County? Seeing no objections, we have a motion to approve. Have a second. Commissioner Calton, Gardner made the motion. The board opens. Please cast your vote to approve the list of notary publics. Everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received necessary majority of the list is approved as read. Commissioner Cross, would you bring the public comment request up here? And we will recess at this time to have public comment. But, we invite the public at every meeting traditionally to address the commission on whatever issue they would like to have. We have a combination of zoning and we will call on you at the proper time during the zoning period. It appears, Mayor Luttrell, did you want to speak on a resolution? Or did you want to speak?
Do it now or wait till
If you will, wait till the resolution comes up and the sponsor could call on you and I can properly recognize you. Thank you. And Mayor Groves additionally. Geneva Lester, Ms. Lester, if you'll come up. And if you will, give us your full name and address for our electronic record.
Okay, Geneva Lester, 300 Sleepy Hollow Road, Bristol, Tennessee. And I'm here with some questions regarding Observation Knott Park. I know that we're getting ready for the season to open, so I think there's a lot of questions still that needs to be answered, and there's a lot of concern. My issue originally was about the drawings, because I would like to know if, when and how and where the drawings are done. Are they public? Are they private? I was supposedly in a drawing last year and was never drawn, which could very possibly be. However, I would like to know that it was fair. So I would like that addressed. I know that I was misled to, I was told last year that I had to purchase a camper before I could be in the campground or be in the drawing for the campground, which I did. I did go out and purchase a camper and then apply for the drawing for the second time, which I shouldn't have to, had to have done that. I think that was very wrong and that should, have been addressed. I just think that you need to be aware that that's what people are being told or what I was told. And the only thing that I want is for everyone to be treated fair. It is a Sullivan County park, and all that I'm asking is for everyone that is, qualifies for whatever reason to be in that drawing, to actually be in that drawing and for it to be held public to where everyone knows, what is going on out there. I'm not in, any of those that were going to be left or anything, so I don't have anything to say about that. All I'm asking is for fair treatment for all Sullivan County people that want to try, or anybody that wants to get into Sullivan County Park.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, next up are Rebecca Broski. Rebecca, if you'll give us your name and address for our electronic record.
Okay, Rebecca Borowski, 248 Christus Drive, Bluff City. Okay, there are a couple things I would like to bring to your attention regarding the observation knob. First is the electrical inspection, and I have highlighted a few areas in the report that I laid on your desk. The inspection was requested by the county. The park director took the inspector only to 5 areas, which were 2 bathhouses, 2 daily sites, and 1 seasonal site. There are more seasonal sites than any of the other types of sites in the park, and mine was the only site chosen to be inspected. This is not the only time I have felt targeted by the park director and former county commissioner. If the behavior continues, I will be forced to seek legal counsel. The issue reported are not only found at my camper, but there are several others, like that have the campers over their sign up over their breaker box, and there are electrical cords that have melted and caught on fire. Is this not a liability to the county? And were not reported in the inspection. In regards to the inspection, will the campground be able to open April 1st? Second, I would like to point out that we have been attending these meetings for the last 6 months. We feel like we aren't getting any answers. There are proof of wrecked vehicles without reports, use of county vehicles for personal use, and eyewitness of intoxicated driving in county vehicles. This is not a huge liability on the county. Why is it not being addressed? The Ethics Committee has turned over reports to the DA's office to be investigated. This involves an illegal 50-50 raffle, county funds being handled with personal bank accounts by former county commissioner and park director. There is also an investigation by the state comptrollers for the misuse of funds. We want to know what is going on because this also sounds like a very big liability on the county. With these investigations, why does the park director still have a job? These are concerns we have been bringing to the county for almost 6 months. We want answers and solutions, and we are not going to go away until this is addressed. I am a Sullivan County taxpayer and resident and would like to have answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Councilwoman Lee Powers. You're for the resolution, Lee? Thank you. And I will not rely on my faulty memory, so I'll tell the sponsor to call on you, if you will. And if both of us fail, you just wave at us and we'll get you up here. Thank you. That completes my list of folks who have requested to address the commission in our public hearing. And we appreciate those who come and share their opinions with us. And at this time, I'll ask if anyone didn't sign up that would like to address the commission. We're not restricted to agenda items or any particular item. Seeing none, I'll declare the public comment section closed, and we'll get back to our agenda. Next up is item number 1. Mr. Council moves adoption of resolution number 1, seconded by Commissioner Gardner, to allow us to go into our zoning and planning recess. Commission when the board open, cast your vote on resolution number 1. Is there any discussion? I'm sorry. No discussion. Cast your vote on resolution number 1. Everyone voted. Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
I received necessary majority. Resolution number 1 is adopted. We will recess for planning and zoning. Ms. Torbett, you're recognized in the well.
Thank you so much. So, as they're getting the presentation up, you also have the packet on your desk and was emailed to you. We have 3 individual rezoning requests from property owners and a few minor zoning text amendments that have been reviewed by all 3 planning commissions. So the first request is from Ardmore Investments, LLC. This is actually the cemetery across from the airport on Highway 75. Their request is to rezone the funeral home office building complex from A1 to B4. They are not planning on building anything. This is just to bring it into conformance because it changed ownership, and the bank and insurance and the state license requires a zoning compliance letter from our office. Now, as you know, this has been a cemetery and a funeral home for a long time. We checked our records because that's part of the records request to do our zoning compliance. And the building permit, I think in '94, was for a mausoleum, and we had the plans just for a mausoleum. which is allowed in A1 zoning. It ended up being a full-service funeral home and crematorium, which requires a business zone. So again, this is just to bring an existing building complex into conformance. Flip through. That's the structure involved. I think one more, I included the survey. So as you can see, the remaining acreage, all of the burial plots and the yards, the lawn will remain A1, and just the building complex and the access will be requested as B4. This went to the Sullivan County Regional Planning Commission last month, and it was unanimously recommended in favor of this request. That's all we have
Any questions?
for that case.
Mr. Jones?
There is not a crematory on that property. I've worked there for several years. It's a mausoleum and funeral home, but cremations are done at other facilities. There's not a crematory on that property.
Okay. Well, we're just relaying what was relayed to us, but the building permit was just for the mausoleum. So it has expanded. Full-service funeral home services and their offices is a business use.
Commissioner Iverson, you're recognized.
The sign says cremation services on the sign.
Motion to approve, Mayor.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay.
Motion to approve.
These don't require a motion. They come to you in positive minus recommendation by the planning commission. Thank you, Mark. Anyway, I forget to do number one at a time. But any further questions for Amber? Seeing none, you're ready to vote. It comes to you in a positive manner. Yes vote to approve the application, no vote to not approve. Board open, cast your vote. Everyone voted? Anyone want to change a vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
I received the necessary majority. Case 1 is approved. Ms. George on case 2.
Wonderful, thank you. The second request, back to the presentation, sorry, you have to toggle. This request is from John and Dana Longo. They are requesting their property to be rezoned from R1 to A2. Purpose of this request is to bring it into conformance with their square footage of outbuildings, accessory structures like garages. Some of you were on the commission a couple of years ago when the zoning code was amended. We used to have sort of a one-size-fits-all. You could have up to 2,000 square feet of detached residential accessory structure square footage, regardless of what you were zoned or how much land you had. So when we changed it, it made her property out of compliance. I believe she has about 1,400 square feet of garage space and a couple outbuildings and a gazebo. What prompted this, about a year ago, she requested a permit for a carport. In typical fashion, she was told she doesn't need a permit for a carport. That's what a lot of the carport sales companies say, is you don't need a permit. Well, it does require a permit. So she's been working with us to get that squared away. That will push her over the square footage for R1. It would have been fine under the previous zoning code. She has 4 acres, a little over 4 acres on this particular plot. And so, as you know, the A2 zoning district requires a minimum of a lot of 2 acres. A5 would require 5 acres. So the A2 is the most restrictive zoning classification as far as lot size goes. So it would prevent her, based on the lay of the land and the acreage, if it's rezoned, from subdividing again. But this would bring her into conformance and allow her to seek a building permit for the carport. It will probably have to be relocated, but that's another matter with the Board of Zoning Appeals. But this request is just to bring her into conformance with her existing square footage, if that makes sense. I think there's a couple more slides. That's the survey of her property. So it's a little over 4 acres. I think that they're the pictures. This came unanimously in favor from our planning commission last month.
Any comment, any questions? Ms. Dorford, I failed to, on the last case, to ask for public comment, and we will go back and I'll revisit that. But any public comment? Commissioner King, you're recognized.
Amber, how much square footage has she got now with adding this carport?
Right, I had added it up. Sorry, I thought I put it in my notes in my staff report.
Is she at the limit?
She's over the R1 limit because R1 limits you to 1,200, whereas before it was 2,000, before we changed the code. I think I added it up. It was about 1,485 square feet, so she's over the R1 limit.
So changing this, she'll be underneath the 8.2?
Oh, more than enough wiggle room.
So,
The only thing I didn't add up was the gazebo, because the surveyor didn't put that square footage, since it's octagonal. I couldn't really calculate that, and the assessor didn't have it. So other than the little gazebo in her side yard, she was about 1,485 square feet.
so what about increasing the amount of water?
Well, I mean, I included the engineer's report.
And I read it, but
Yeah.
it really don't explain.
So
Always talking about trees. and
I
all this.
understand that, with all due respect, this is a land use issue from R1 to A2. Is it appropriate to rezone 4 acres in a rural area to A2? I believe it is. Will it bring her into conformance with regards to her structures? Yes. Stormwater is something that my office can deal with if there's an individual stormwater violation. Typically, that is a civil matter between 2 landowners. If they were going to develop a subdivision, a commercial property, we would have engineered plans that would be reviewed by our civil engineers, who are our consultants, and we would deal with that. But she hasn't, this is residential property. If there's a drainage issue between 2 landowners, it's really not our business to get involved. We did, out of respect for your request last time, she contacted a local engineer, Highlands Engineering. They do lots of developments in the county, highly respected. And his report, as I thought it would be, trees are probably the best method of absorbing stormwater runoff because of their root system, their canopy. We require tree planting as buffers between, land uses on commercial site plans. We require evergreen trees planted on almost every new development for churches, storage yards, commercial centers, manufacturing. Trees are a good thing. Now, did anything change with the natural contour? That, I don't know. As you know, those homes have been there long before planning and permitting. I believe in the 50s or 60s they were constructed. As you can see from the pictures, you have steep slopes, a lot of rock outcropping, and so obviously whoever built her home and her neighbor's home back then, they built in the bottomland of those lots. They didn't want to build too close to the road. They needed to accommodate for septic systems, but they didn't build on the hill. That would probably be with all the rock and the slope, not ideal. So you have 2 homes grandfathered in, built in the bottomland. There's no stream. It's not a wet weather conveyance or a blue line stream. It's just the natural way stormwater is going to go. We hope that each landowner, if they have any issues with their foundation, maybe put in some French drains. But really, the stormwater issues would be a private civil matter between them. It's not a zoning issue. It's not a building permit issue. It's not our issue. We can't solve everything for everybody. If this was a new subdivision development that would necessitate engineered plans, we would have all of that to ensure. I wouldn't recommend, based on my experience as your stormwater administrator for the last 20 years, when you build a detention basin, that's not holding water. That's just capturing the runoff, and it still has to have an outfall. And the outfall would be downhill. So then you have a ponding effect, and you're channeling it. It's better to have open yard to absorb the stormwater runoff. Trees help with that. Landscaping helps with that. We go out and visit with community or neighbors all the time who want guidance or examples of how they can landscape their property to better absorb the runoff just from their own gutters. I wouldn't recommend a detention pond, because then you're going to have ponding water and you're going to actually channel it to the neighbor. A retention pond, we don't allow, because that is like, you hold it forever. You just wait for the sun to evaporate it, and then that breeds mosquitoes. So the best thing you can do is, the neighbor can maybe berm up their side if there's an issue, plant trees themselves, rain gardens. The main thing is you don't want any water standing along the foundation of your home. But we all have to do that. It's just being a homeowner. But again, these homes are grandfathered in. I don't know. Nothing's going to change with the landscape by rezoning it. Does that help explain?
Yes, that answered my question. I just got one comment.
Okay.
You talking about the burns and all this?
Sure.
When she put those burns between the road, she's channeling that water to her neighbor. There's no way for that water to get over that burn to get back to the natural drain. So all that water that's coming off the road is running down to that other property. And there again, this is a civil matter that but she made this problem. When she put the burns, before the water went off the road, down into the field, into the bottom, and it ran down. Now that she's put these berms up, and they're on the county right-of-way, after they surveyed it, it's on the county right-of-way, then all that water goes all the way down to the end of it, and then dumps out onto our neighbor.
So Enterprise Road is a collector road, as you know.
Yes.
So it's a 60-foot right-of-way, 30 out of center.
Right.
She was told it was a normal rural road, 25 out of center. So the trees, some of them are in the right-of-way.
Exactly.
They're way, as you can see from the picture, there's a wide ditch. It's not a deep ditch. Like at my house, there's no room to do a wide ditch, so there's a deep ditch. This is a very wide swale, and then the berm. I don't know what to tell you. If there is issues, I've yet to see pictures. I've been out there several times. I've not gone on the neighbor's property. We can't go on other people's property unless we're invited on their property. So, we can study it further. We can give guidance if there are corrections to be made. But as far as the land use and zoning matter, this rezoning won't change that. It won't affect it. I think it'll bring it into conformance. It'll be actually more restrictive. And so that's how the Planning Commission understood it, and that's why they forwarded you a favorable recommendation.
And I agree with you 100%, but there's still a problem there that hasn't been solved. So.
Right, but that would be between them. We can offer guidance, but that would be between them.
All right, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Any further questions for Ms. Torvald? Seeing none, I'll ask for any public comment, anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this particular case. Yes, would you come up to the front? We had to do that, so we'll have an electronic record of it, and our mics aren't all that great. Give us the name and address, please.
My name's Tim Joe, and I live below these, down the road there, 2 houses below them. And I don't think the berms has created any kind of problem. I've seen several hard storms, and the water comes from across the road and across the road into the yards and down my way. I haven't seen one bit of, I don't think the berms is gonna, you need to come by there when it's coming a real heavy rain to see what's happening. We've had some hard rains back years ago, then lately, but my backyard will be completely flooded, but it don't come all the way up to my house. But, it's like a river. The hay field that's between me and Debbie, I've seen it look like a river. But I don't see any problem with the berms. I don't see how anybody could. Pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Joe. We appreciate your coming. Anyone else would like to speak on this from the audience? Excuse me just a moment. You've heard the explanation, you've heard the discussion. Case number 2, any further questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. When the board opens them, please cast your vote on case number 2. Everyone voted? Anyone wish to change a vote? Madam Clerk, take a vote.
24 yes.
Thank you. Having received the necessary majority, case number 2 is approved. Ms. Torvald, you're recognized on item case number 3.
Okay, thank you. If you'll turn in your packet, case number 3 is from Julie Kitzmiller. Her request is to rezone her house lot from R1 to R2 at 356 Ellis Road here in Blountville. Purpose of her request is her house burned down, and she cannot afford to keep renting a place and rebuild. She's trying to salvage some materials and recycle them, but she is tearing down the home. If you'll go to the next slide. And then the next slide, I think we have some pictures. You can see the home is partially burned. It's not habitable anymore. She would like to rezone it. She can put a single-wide mobile home right behind that location to utilize the existing septic system. The shed in the backyard is still fine, but the home is not habitable. It went before our planning commission last month. We did have some concerns, but the concerns were how long will it take her to clean up the burnout home, and she is working on it. She does have family to help her. Her goal is to, if she's rezoned, to be set up back in a mobile home and the old home torn down by this summer. That was the explanation provided at the planning commission, and there was some discussion, but we clarified. One landowner thought it was going to be rezoned for a mobile home park. We assured her that R2 only allows one single wide on one lot. We don't have public sewer to support a mobile home. That would require an R3 zoning. So what's presented is what it could be. It is an extension of the R2 zoning behind it, and when you zoom out, there's farmland, some other mobile homes, double wides, and site-built homes in Ellis Road. It's a dead-end road. Planning Commission forwards a unanimous recommendation to you all.
You've heard the explanation. Do you have any questions for Ms. Torben? Seeing none, you did a good job, Amber. Now we'll recess for a moment, or we're in recess for public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to address the commission on case number 3? I have Ms. Kitzmiller here, but if anybody has any questions, if you'd like to speak, Ms. Kitzmiller, I'll allow you to. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, this comes to you in a positive manner. So when the board open, please cast your vote yes to approve, no to disapprove. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received the necessary majority. Case number 3 is approved. Next up is a text amendment, and Mr. Torben, I believe we're going to need a motion to do this, so you're recognized on text amendment.
That's fine. These come from the Planning Commission. Anytime the staff or our Planning Commission initiates a zoning code amendment, it also requires Bristol and Kingsport's Planning Commission and staff to review. So all of these have been through all 3 regional planning commissions, and all come to you with a favorable recommendation. I'm going to go through them. You can vote on them individually or as a group. It doesn't matter to me. But basically, this first section in Table 4, Chapter 4, which is our commercial code land use table, the last line we are proposing to strike out. And you can probably read it in your packet, but basically, we have been asked by some of our office holders to remove manufacturing from a commercial zone. We actually have a situation in Blumpville where a building was repurposed for a sawmill, and it's so loud they can't hear in the office. So we don't need manufacturing in our commercial zones. We need manufacturing in our manufacturing zones. We have 4 manufacturing zones from light to heavy. We don't need them, in my opinion, in our commercial zones. So most of our commercial zones are smaller lots near residential neighborhoods, and so manufacturing needs more buffering, larger lots. It's just a conflict. So that's it on that amendment. I didn't know if you wanted to vote on them separately or take it as a group.
Unless there's an objection, we have Mr. Jones, let's recognize Mr. Jones. We'll see. We were just discussing if we do take some out, we'll have to vote on them individually. So
Sure.
we're discussing how to do that. Commissioner Jones, you're recognized.
Amber, how does our changing this affect this current business that's operating? Are they grandfathered in?
They are. Kindly, though, they have responded to our building officials' request for noise ordinance. You know, we don't have a noise ordinance in the county like cities do, but they have taken steps to tone it down. I think they might even, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think they're going to outgrow that current location anyway. That particular use might take care of itself. But it doesn't come up often, but you know, manufacturing has different, if you took this section in Chapter 5, it would have a whole set of greater setbacks and buffering, and you know, so I don't really know why it was left in. I'll take full responsibility because I wrote the code to begin with 20 years ago, but I think it just could have been a bleed over. So obviously, if anyone is in business, as you know, they're legal and non-conforming, they'd be grandfathered in, of course. Yeah.
Any further questions for Ms. Torben?
Okay.
We don't need to have a public hearing on this. This is a commission deal.
Okay.
No questions, no one wants to? Okay, Dan says I have to have a public hearing.
Sure. Any amendment to
And
the zoning
I always
plan?
follow her down, so, is there, we will recess for public hearing. Anybody, wish to, address the commission on this text amendment? Public hearing is closed.
So are we going to vote on them individually then and have group? Okay, moving on.
The will of the commission, does the commission want them individually, or want them all at once?
Okay,
I thought you might.
thank you.
Okay, when the board opens, any further questions? When the board opens, it comes to you in a positive.
Are we doing a group?
positive manner.
Because I still have more sections to. Okay. You're done with my
Okay.
listening to me.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I thought you said, you only have one text amendment listed here, so I will recognize you again on text amendment number 2.
Okay, they're listed as separate sections, but I'm assuming you've read them, but I'll be brief. Table 4, 102, Part A, we allow residential occupancy in commercial zones if it is part of the business. So let's say you own a restaurant, and a mom and pop restaurant, and you live on site, or a beauty salon and you live on site. We do allow that. We've allowed it to be approved administratively, so it doesn't have to go to the planning commissioner or the board of zoning appeals. But we had a conflict, and so it's highlighted as SUP. That just means there's supplemental regulations. Building official can approve it. We just want to make sure this section corresponds with the supplemental regs, as opposed to taking it, making them go to the planning commission or the board. It's really not changing anything. We just had a conflict in 2 different sections of the code. Same part in Chapter 5, which is our manufacturing district, same thing. We want to make sure that this can be approved by the building official. Again, this isn't building your dream home next to a manufacturing plant. This is you have a business, you're the night watchman or the owner, and it's an accessory use. And then the last section to the the next section are those, excuse me, are those supplemental regs. And it basically just clarifies, it's that it goes with the business as opposed to a freestanding separate dwelling. The last section is striking out what is highlighted in the strike through. In our parking requirements, Chapter 7, there was a line added in 2005 that gave the Planning Commission authority to waive all paving requirements. And legally, the Planning Commission cannot waive anything in the zoning code. Only the Board of Zoning Appeals, based on some hardship with the land, can they waive any bulk regulations in your zoning code. The Planning Commission doesn't have that authority. That's too arbitrary. That just leaves it up to them to make a subjective decision, and we don't need to put that pressure on the Planning Commission. You either meet the paving standards, or if you can't, you go to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So we just need those lines taken out to be legal. And that's all I have.
And that's all you have. You've heard the explanation. We're going to have one vote without objection to all 3 changes. We have anyone in the audience last time? Public comment. We're back on. Commissioner Cole, you move adoption. Okay, have a second? Second, Commissioner Kaplan. Other seconds. Any discussion? Proper motion. When the board opens, cast your vote. Zoning text amendments. Item number 4, on today's agenda? Everyone voted. Anyone wants to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
I received necessary majority. Text amendments are adopted and approved.
Thank you all.
Anything else, Ms. Thorpe?
Nope, that's
Not a
it.
thing?
Well, I did put a survey on the desk, but I think everyone's already taken it.
Okay, I thought you might have something else.
You know me.
Okay.
A lot going on. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Back in session on the regular agenda. We have no old business. You did your job last month very well. So under new business, see, let me back up here just a minute. Consent agenda. You did your job very well last Thursday night because you have items 2, 3, 4, and 6 on the consent agenda. We have a motion to adopt the consent agenda. Commissioner Akers and Commissioner Gardner. Commissioner, anyone want to bump or remove any item from the consent agenda? We have proper motion. Seeing none, the motion is to adopt the consent agenda as published. When the board opens, cast your vote. Everyone voted. Requires a unanimous vote. Those vote. Anyone who wishes to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Consent agenda is adopted as published. Now, we're on our regular agenda. And the new business, items 2, 3, 4 are adopted. Commissioner Harvey, you're recognized on item number 5. If you're prepared. Thanks, Cheryl. You're recognized.
This is a resolution to amend the Sullivan County Code of Ethics, which is intended to mirror the state code of ethics for government entities. And this resolution addresses 3 of those amendments and waiver of rules.
It is, the resolution is item number 2023-205 as amended, and the amendment was added. You've heard the explanation, seconded by Commissioner Slater. Any questions for Sponsor? Seeing none, proper motion, when the board opens, please cast your vote on the item number 5. Everyone voted. Anyone wish to change the vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received necessary majority. Item 5 is adopted, and I should have announced that the proponent wanted to waive the rule for immediate introduction and adoption of item 5. And so it received a unanimous vote, so therefore the rule was suspended and it received a unanimous vote. Next up, item number 7, Commissioner Cross-White, you're recognized on item number 7. I'm sorry? Okay. I've got, Commissioner Van Hope here recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to renew my resolution. This went through the work session last week. I asked for it to be put in the first reading into a county attorney straight could look at it and make some changes, which he has, and actually made some improvements. So I'd like to ask for it to be put in waiver rule tonight for immediate adoption and introduction. A couple of small changes he's made to the resolution I read instead of reading the whole thing. The resolution is to amend the Sullivan County Property Maintenance Code, International Property Maintenance Code as amended, Section 202, general definitions, rubbish, section 302.2, 308.2, disposal of rubbish to address the proper disposal of tires. At the end of the resolution on the second page, he has improved my resolution by saying used tires shall be disposed of through a permitted facility or through a legal landfill as allowed by such landfill, and evidence of such disposal shall be provided upon request to Sullivan County zoning and property maintenance officials. So with his blessing and with your approval, I'd like to ask for waiver of rules.
You've heard the explanation, Commissioner Vanover moves to waive the rule permitting introduction and adoption of item number 7, seconded by Commissioner Means.
Mr. Jones just reminded me if all those that voted in the affirmative could be co-sponsors.
Without objection. Item number 7, move adoption of item number 7 as amended. We've got 2, so you said, Zane, that it was changed from the original introduction.
Slightly, yes, sir.
So it's amendment number 1 to item number 7. I have replaced up here, and I wasn't sure what that meant. But anyway, you've heard the explanation. Requires 16 votes for passage. Any further discussion? Seeing none, when the board opens, cast your vote. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received necessary majority. Item number 7 is adopted as amended. Next up, item number 8. Commissioner King, you're recognized on item number 8.
Thank you, Mayor. At our budget committee meeting, we had a presentation from Miss Sheena Tinsley, and she went over what this was for, and it's ARPA funding at the cost of $90,000 plus. And what this will do is she can use this to complete microfilming of the land records since 1951, and then they would be transferred to the State Library and Archives in Nashville. And she also wants to restore some of our older books dating back to 1775. And this would also be part of that money that she would be using. She brought the first deed book that we have going back to 1775, and showed us how bad a shape it is, and what she wanted to do with all these old records to update them and get them to preserved and put them in kind of books to where they could be not restored but preserved. So I think this is a good idea. We don't need to let these records deteriorate any more than what they already have. And we're very lucky, that we have got our records going back to 1775. And I think she's got some from the Washington County, Tennessee, plus the state of North Carolina that came from Raleigh. So I think this is something we need to do. So,
did you want to waive a rule?
Waiver rule, sure. We need to go ahead and get this done as quick as we can.
Okay. Mr. King moves to waive the rule for the immediate introduction and adoption of item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Calton. Any discussion, any questions? Mr. King renews his motion. When the board opens, please cast your vote on item number 8. Everyone voted. Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received necessary majority. Item number 8 is adopted. Next up, item number 9. Mr. King, you're still recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution is a grant for the highway department, and it come through the federal lands access program. And what this will do, it's roughly $1.5 million, and it would be for engineering, construction cost, and total project cost. And it's for one bridge that's going to be about $213,000, two resurfacing and roads, a total of $460, and then another resurfacing of another road, it'd be $301. So this is a grant, and it's not, we don't have to match it, so it's all the money that comes is, through this grant, so we don't have to put any money up to do any of this, and probably put it on a waiver of rules, because we need to get this thing put in, and so we can get these projects on the ground.
Mr. Glover, I'm sorry, Mr. King moves for immediate introduction and adoption of item number 9, second by Commissioner Glover. Anyone have questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Darlene, you have a question.
If it's okay, I'd like to be a co-sponsor on
Sure.
this.
Everybody that votes in affirmative can be co-sponsor.
Without objection, everyone voting in the affirmative will be listed as co-sponsor. I believe we're ready to vote now. I apologize, Darlene. Board's open. Cast your vote. Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
24 yes.
Have received necessary majority, item number 9 is adopted. I know there are a lot of folks here for item number 10, and I want to make sure that anyone that is here that wants to speak has an opportunity to speak. And so we've already had our public hearing, and I want to take a brief recess to talk with the sponsor and see how we want to handle these folks that want to speak on this. Now, maybe everybody's here and nobody wants to speak, that's fine. Generally, the sponsor or a commissioner will call someone to the microphone. And if you have to be thinking about that, but I'd like to, this being the last item on the calendar, I'm going to ask you to come back at 7:30, and we will consider item number 10.
How's Curtis?
We're good, how you?
Would everybody hold up?
28.
Okay. You down in March.
Could we have quiet here a minute? I believe the sponsor wants to go on and handle this. Is that correct, Mr. So he doesn't want to vote, and I only suggested this so we can have an orderly discussion. I will, so let me inform the commission as we handle this, and we want to be as orderly as we can. And we want everybody to have a chance to talk. Proponents and opponents if there are there. So,
somebody else for March.
the sponsor has said he would like to go on with it, and I'm going to honor his request. But I will tell you, in this discussion, if you have somebody here that's asked you if they can speak, all you have to do is seek recognition, and I'll recognize you, and he'll say, could we recess for someone to speak.
I'll call Donna.
Now, is that, Mr. Glover, is that all right with you as a sponsor? Let me.
Mr. Chairman, before we start this resolution, anyone that wants to speak on this particular resolution, I'd like for them to speak first on this resolution, and then we'll move forward with it.
Then we'll
Then we'll move forward with the resolution.
Okay. just a moment. I think that's a fair request.
Okay.
Lots of folks here. I think it's better not to have our guest enter the debate. So I think that will accomplish that. So it's not often we have a crowd like this with interest that's here. So I will at this time, and I will ask anybody who speaks, limit yourself to 3 minutes. I will have a clock on, and we will limit public speaking to 30 minutes. So we're going to recess before I recognize Mr. Glover. If we have guests who want to speak regarding item number 10 on our resolution agenda, sponsored by Mr. Glover and Mr. King, if you will hold up your hand, I'll try to recognize you from the front to the back. And if I don't know your name, I know your name, Mayor Rolls, so please come forward. And if every speaker, if you'll give us your name and address for the clerk's record. It really needs to be clear because she has trouble. We don't have a list up here, so. Mayor Rolls, you're recognized and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Members of the Commission. I'm Jeff Wolf, Mayor and Town Manager of Bluff City. My residential address is 660 Kentucky Avenue, Bluff City, Tennessee. I'll be brief. I stand today before you in support of Commissioner Brown's resolution, along with several colleagues that are behind me. And I am a new mayor, so I will assure you that I took the time to do due diligence before standing in support of this. I obtained every single document I possibly could to review objectively. I sat yesterday evening with my counsel, and we both, although he was left out of many documents and we were able to obtain them, we both very objectively looked at this proposal by the HUD. I would also like to add personally that I respect all parties involved in the conversation. I can't say enough about the elected officials who are involved. I can't say enough about the contributions of the business leaders that have offered themselves in this effort. But I will finally say this. Upon review and careful thought, I fully understand the proposal. From the first memorandum that I actually have here to the last piece of information I received yesterday, I understand what is being proposed. But coming away from it, I question the legality and the motivation of the effort. I believe that my longer tenured colleagues that will follow me will be able to explain to you in detail their active participation in the networks and its benefit to Sullivan County, and more especially to the citizens I represent. Again, I stand here today before you, representing my citizens, and I support the resolution offered by Commissioner Sullivan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. I know Mayor Luttrell had signed up on the sheet, so Mayor Luttrell, if you're prepared, you're recognized and welcome.
Thank you. My name is Maylon Luttrell. I live at 224 Memory Lane, Bristol, Tennessee. And I serve on the Bristol, Tennessee City Council, Board of Network Sullivan Partnership, and other boards and commissions. Before I go on, there may be a name that's going to come up several times throughout my comments, if I'm able to finish everything. And I want everyone to know, this is no personal attack by no means. It is just facts. Facts only. I'm here tonight to speak in support of Mr. Glover's resolution that in essence is in total disagreement of the efforts that the HUD has been involved with in trying to take away economic development
tourism, and workforce development in our county and cities for over 3 years. By attempting a hostile takeover and merger such as what occurred with our hospitals. I also predict that other elements in the future will be targeted if this is not stopped. My question would be, what's next? This effort has been engineered and controlled by people and businesses and one education institution, which I'm sure that every one of you are well aware of who they are. Additionally, they're not even residents of Sullivan County. They're residents of Washington County, Tennessee, and I believe that one of them may even be a resident of Florida. If I'm incorrect on that one, I apologize up front. Also, none of them are elected officials. My point is, why should they be allowed by any of us to attempt to organize and control elements of our county and cities? They will say that we're better together. To me, what this means is, once they get what they want, then they're the ones that are better. Additionally, this group has been trying to change our identity by labeling us as the Appalachian Highlands, which I personally, for many reasons, disagree with. The partnership that was created by Sullivan County, along with the cities of Bluff City, Kingsport, and Bristol, have worked very hard along with the strategic planning that has taken place over the years and has been recognized by many across the state. We have great economic development partners in TVA, Tennessee Department of Economic Development, Bristol, Tennessee Central Services, and others. Networks Partnership has done a phenomenal job in marketing and attracting businesses to locate here and expand. As Mr. Glover pointed out in his resolution, since 2014, there have been some 5,033 jobs generated with investments by these companies around $1.2 billion and have won grants of some $4 million. And oh yes, just recently, it was announced another plant that will be built in Sullivan County by an existing business that is located here with an investment of around $10 million and will add another 70 employees. A few months ago, Mr. Phillips was allowed to speak at one of our network's meetings. He told the network's board and staff that he, along with the HUB's board, did not believe the numbers stated above. Basically, the network's board and staff were called liars. Mr. Phillips was challenged on his comment by myself and was asked to provide his data to back up his board's accusations. Obviously, nothing was ever provided. An interesting point in that on the network's board, there are members that have been in support of the HUB's efforts because they're employees of some of those organizations. Also, please note that they have voted and approved many elements of the network's business, the CEO's contract, compensation package.
Mayor Luttrell, I'll give you the extra time. Could you wrap up, please?
As well as external financial audits which have been revealed in well-run organizations. On other occasions, Mr. Phillips has referenced that everyone should go along with the HUB's executive team once. As he put it, when the community comes around with their hand out seeking assistance for some project or for whatever, that we should be beholden to them for their generosity. He has made this sound like people come begging to them. To me, this is an insult of the highest regard. If they are assisting some, this would be a good corporate citizen. This is what a good corporate citizen should be doing in a community without wanting anything in return or special favors. They should only receive the normal city services that are provided to other businesses or residents. And there's more than I can say, but I guess.
Mayor Luttrell, you operate your council under certain rules, and I would expect you to respect ours, and you haven't. You've taken 2 minutes.
Thank you for your time.
2 minutes from somebody else. So thank you.
All this information can be available to you.
Did you wave at the camera?
No, I said all this information can be available.
Okay, very good. I know Mayor Powers wanted to speak. Is Mayor Powers still here? Oh, there you are, Lee. Lee, would you, we probably got your name and address somewhere, but if you'll give it to us.
Good evening, my name is Lee Powers. My address is 58 Oaks Drive, and I reside in Bristol, Tennessee. Around June 25th of 2018, there was a casual conversation, well, prior to that shortly, there was a casual conversation through the Sullivan Networks partnership that the aerospace park was such a success that perhaps we should consider other projects where we could all work together. From that, Sullivan Networks partnership convened a small little regionalism committee. And at that point, I believe Mayor Venable and Mayor Grandy, somewhere there, put together the Blue Ribbon Task Force. Now, the Blue Ribbon Task Force was, if I'm correct, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, was put together to encourage cooperation with one another. And many of you probably served on one of the Blue Ribbon Task Force. Ironically, the Blue Ribbon Task Force turned into the Net Tennessee Hub. And we were all very confused because the mayor, or so it seemed, had the Blue Ribbon Task Force and had what they were working towards. And then this other entity presented itself. When this entity came to us, when NetRep first came to us and asked us what we could do, and I am a member of Sullivan Networks Partnership and have been for several years, we went back to our interlocal agreement that involved Bluff City, Bristol, and we found that what was being proposed would not be an appropriate overlay to our intergovernmental agreement. And so we went back. We have 3 legal opinions, one of whom is Attorney Street, Attorney Smith out of Bristol, and Bill Arterbright, who is the attorney for Sullivan Networks Partnership. Each time we were asked to get our attorneys together to work something out, we made it clear that there were only certain things that we could do. One is that we could convene pretty much like the Knights of the Round Table and bring all of the involved entities together with no one having any more legislative authority than another, and could contractually work together to put specific projects together, and that the contracts would have a very defined time period. The other thing that we could do that we initially proposed was that Sullivan Networks Partnership could enter into contractual agreements with other counties, municipal cities that were interested in having the expertise offered by Sullivan Networks Partnership. Now, we went into an agreement, a contractual agreement with Hawkins County. The reason, one of the most pressing reasons that we went into the agreement with Hawkins County was because Phipps Bend, which had bonds on it that were held by Kingsport, was not generating the revenue to offset the bonds. So they reached out to us and when I say us, Sullivan Networks Partnership, to market on their behalf. And I can say that there have been several entities brought into Phipps Bend because of the marketing efforts of Sullivan Networks Partnership. So I'm winding it up. So I come to you tonight to say we have tried to find a path forward. You received a letter that said that there was a path forward. That has not yet just happened. There is no defined path forward at this point in time. There has been conversation, but the conversation has been circular for the past 4 years. So tonight, I would appreciate it if you would give consideration to Resolution 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor President. Okay, that's all I have signs up. Now, if you'll raise your hand from the first row back, if you want to speak. One last call. If you want to speak, just raise your hand. We've got 3 minutes. Public hearing is over. We're back on our regular agenda. Commissioner Glover, you're recognized on item number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to thank all those folks that came to speak tonight, Mayor Brawls, Electoral from Bristol. Also, Ms. Powers, thank you. Thank you all for coming tonight and everyone else for coming tonight. At this time, this resolution, item number 10, this resolution is to deny support of steps relative to membership in or financial support of Sullivan County Board of Commissioners as players in a conceptual public-private agreement or partnerships referred to as regionalism efforts, including but not limited to current attempts by Appalachian Highlands Economic Development Partnership, INC, the Hub Region, Net Hub, Regional Hub, or any naming or renaming, therefore of including complete rejection of changes in structure and or administration of networks Sullivan Partnership. I'm not going to read all 6 pages to this commission with the co-sponsors that we have on this resolution. They have done their homework, and I would like to say that all commissioners involved, this input is from each of them also. I will read a couple of the, being further resolved, that this Sullivan County Board of County Commissioners shall include and define its intent to maintain network Sullivan Partnership and or any economic development proposals within its developing master plan or 5-year plan framework with economically charged pro-business approach without an assisted desk at the hub table. Be it further reserved that the Sullivan County Board of County Commissioners acknowledges and concurs we cannot amend this intergovernmental agreement. This is the Charter of Network Sullivan Partnership. It can only be amended by the cities and the county and has to be an unanimous among the cities and the county. Business Journal quotes Network Sullivan Partnership Attorney Bill Albright. That's his quote from January the 12th, 2023. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution, upon its being approved and or properly signed, shall be sent by Sullivan County Clerk to Bluff City Mayor Jeff Broyles, Bristol City Mayor Vince Turner, Kingsport Mayor Pat Shaw, and all Tennessee members currently serving in Tennessee General Assembly, Tennessee Comptroller of the Treasury Jason Mumpower, Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Scaretti, United States Senators Ms. Blackburn and Mr. Haggerty, United States Congresswoman Diana Harshberger, and CEO of the Appalachian Highlands Economic Development Partnership, INC, Mr. Dennis Phillips. I would also like to say in closing, I'm very proud to be a Sullivan County Commissioner. I'm very proud to work with the other 23 members in this room. Sullivan County is strong. And the reason Sullivan County is strong is the hard work of people that works in this room. And the partnership that we have with networks. And we have got a pathway forward in Sullivan County to provide economic development for our constituents that we represent. We are elected officials, and we answer to our constituents that elect us in these positions. And we are accountable to them. Every 4 years, there's an election. And we are held accountable to the highest standard. If we don't meet that standard, then our constituents that we represent have the opportunity to replace us. And I'm very proud of the hard work that we have done on this. It's been a team effort. It's been a lot of hard work from a lot of folks in this room. At this point in time, I want to thank you. And I want to put this resolution on waiver of rules for immediate adoption.
Mr. Glover moves for the immediate introduction and adoption to waive the rules, seconded by Commissioner King. We have several folks who want to speak, and if the board gets full, just bear with us. I think we can all have only 5 at one time. So, proper motion, properly seconded. Commissioner Slagle, you're recognized.
I'd like to call for the question, please.
Commissioner Slagle calls the question, and we will vote on call the question. We have Mr. Ms. Slagle, we don't do this often, and I made a mistake last time I dealt with it, so I wanted to make sure I was dealing with it right. So you've made a motion to call a question. It needs a second. Do we have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Harvey and numerous other commissioners. And one thing I wanted to refer to Dan is that we have three people that want to say something. And is it your desire for them not to speak by calling a question? You cut your mic off. Would you turn it back on, please?
My understanding,
Okay.
based on proper procedure, is that ends all debate.
Still not understand you.
Based on procedure, that motion ends all debate on the current resolution.
You want to call the vote? Okay. You've heard the motion. You've heard it properly second. I was trying to give our clerk a little time to get it on the board. She's got it on the board. We've got, we have a different motion she needs to put on the board. And we will give you time to do that. It's call the question on item number 2. These young ladies know what they're doing, but this is a little cumbersome to do, so. And I'm sorry I couldn't understand you, Matt. We could do a roll call, but I'd rather get it on the board for you. Just to call a question, and if approved, we'll shut off all debate and we'll go directly to a vote on the resolution. So just so you know what you're voting on, you're shutting off all debate. Motion to close debate, okay. When the board opens, properly moved and seconded, when the board opens, cast your vote on cutting off debate. Everyone voted. Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
20 yes, 1 abstain, 3 no.
Having received the necessary majority, debate is closed, and we're ready to put item number 10 on the board. Mr. Glover renews his motion for immediate introduction and adoption. Commissioner King seconds. And so those who sought recognition, I'll just go ahead and cut your mic off. It's on waiver of the rules, require 16 votes for passage. Ready to vote. Board's open. Everyone voted. Anyone wish to change your vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
22 yes, 1 abstain, 1 no.
Having received necessary majority, item number 10 is adopted. And that completes our agenda items. Mr. Bailey, do you have any announcements?
official minutes is all. No approval or anything requested.
Thank you for your patience. Thank you for the patience of our audience here tonight. I will recognize someone for a motion to adjourn. Have a motion. Numerous motions, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. We're adjourned.